Jim, you were so kind on the trip the other day to Honeywell, so you get the first one.
Thank you, Kayleigh, and congratulations on becoming press secretary.
Thank you.
Wanted to ask you, putting aside the situation with Michael Flynn, today the unemployment rate hit the highest point since the Great Depression. What is the president's plan to get this country out of this ditch?
Yeah, you know, this president is the jobs president. This president got us to a place where we had the lowest employment rate in the history of this country, historic lows for Black Americans, Hispanic Americans, the disabled, veterans. As the president has noted, and I think this is right, we had to put a stop to the economy. It was a pause. This wasn't some, economic catastrophe that organically happened. It was decided upon by the President of the United States to stop the United States economy because we had to save 2.2 million lives, perhaps more, somewhere in that range, because American lives, that's what mattered most. And so this president, when faced with this very tough decision to put a pause on the hottest economy in modern history, said American lives matter most. And that's what he did. And I can tell you this, the president that got us to the hottest economy in modern history, he's done it once, and he can do it again.
What's the plan now?
We're going to work with Congress. We're going to come up with hopefully a phase 4. We encourage the House to maybe reconvene soon. It would be helpful if Nancy Pelosi was here. But thus far, what we've done is the PPP, of course, Paycheck Protection Program, that has really kept a lot of employees on the payroll. 60 million employees, roughly half of the workforce in the private sector in this country have been kept on payroll thanks to that measure. But going forward, principles like deregulation, principles like lowering taxes. The president has mentioned a payroll tax pause, which would be a great thing for the American people. There are a lot of proposals being entertained. I don't want to get ahead of the president, but I can tell you.
Isn't there a problem, though? The president wants people to get back to work. He wants these governors to reopen their states. But if Americans aren't comfortable going to restaurants, and movie theaters, or the beach, or whatever, how do you get this economy moving again? What's the plan?
I can tell you there's a lot of pent-up demand in this country. There's a lot of people who do want to go out to restaurants, who do want to go out to movies, who do want to go back to their jobs. We see it and we hear about it every day. I don't think that that's a problem. I think people can trust that we have a president who wants to reopen and reopen safely. These are data-driven guidelines to reopening. The president has those in place, so there's no reason to be concerned because we have a president who always looks at the data, as Dr. Fauci and Dr. Birx have repeatedly noted.
Kayleigh, there was a second confirmed case of COVID-19 here at the White House today, apparently a member of the vice president's staff. That's 2 in 2 days in a building where people are being tested now, including the president and the vice president. Every day they've had their temperature checked for months here. Why should the average American whose workplace doesn't have access to these rapid tests feel comfortable going to work if the White House isn't even safe for people?
Well, look, this individual, there is a member of the vice president's team who is positive for coronavirus. We have put in place the guidelines that our experts have put forward to keep this building safe, which means contact tracing, all of the recommended guidelines we have for businesses that have essential workers, we're now putting in place here in the White House. So as America reopens safely, the White House is continuing to operate safely. Yes, John.
Kayleigh, the president, of course, we saw go down to the World War II memorial with a group of 7 American heroes, all in their 90s. Did he give any consideration to wearing a mask, given that his valet just tested positive and he's with some of those in the most vulnerable population? Did he consider wearing a mask while he was with these veterans?
Well, this president is regularly tested. This president will make the decision as to whether to wear a mask or not. I can tell you that those veterans are protected. They made the choice to come here because they've chosen to put their nation first. They wanted to be with their commander-in-chief on this momentous day, and it was their choice to come here. And I can tell you that the president always puts the safety of our veterans first and of the American people first.
Well, how much exposure has he had to his valet? Can you give us a sense?
I can just tell you that we've taken every single precaution to protect the president. The same guidelines that our experts have put in place. We clean the facility. We social distance. We keep people 6 feet away from one another. So we've done every single thing that Dr. Birx and Dr. Fauci have asked us to do, and I can assure the American people that their commander-in-chief is protected. Yeah.
Thanks, Kayleigh. I want to ask you about the Gilead drug remdesivir. Which government agency is in charge of distributing that drug, and is the White House satisfied with how that drug is being distributed around the country?
Yeah, I actually just spoke with Dr. Birx about this. She is going to be working and consulting as to where this drug should go. She's the person who's constantly reviewing the numbers, constantly reviewing the data. I'm in task force with her every day, and she really has the best grasp as to how that should be distributed. So she will be one of the chief consultants as to how that drug is distributed, which I would note 1.5 million vials donated by Gilead. We're so thankful for that. This drug is promising, and we want to get it to the American people and to the areas that need it most.
Yamiche?
Hi, thanks so much and congratulations on the new gig. It's my
Thank
first
you.
time seeing you at the podium. And, I have two quick questions. The first one's about what's the possibility of the federal government getting involved in the Ahmaud Arbery case, given that Georgia doesn't have any hate crime laws? If it's proven that these men chased and killed Ahmaud Arbery because he was an African American and they racially profiled him, would the Justice Department consider getting involved?
Look, first I want to say that my heart goes out to the family of Ahmaud. I can't imagine what they're going through right now. My heart breaks for this family. I know the president's heart breaks. I've spoken to him about that. And I can tell you, we will follow the facts. Right now, as you know, it's in the court in Georgia. It's a state matter, but absolutely we will be following every detail. And I'd refer you to DOJ, but as the facts merit, I'm certain that they'll be following those facts. And you had a second question?
The second question I have is, in 2015, shortly after the president said that some Mexican immigrants were rapists and criminals, you said that language was racist and hateful. Do you still believe that today?
Well, I'm actually glad you asked that, because for about the first 4 weeks of the election, I was watching CNN and I was naively believing some of the headlines that I saw on CNN. And
Reading headlines, that's fine. I just want to know if you also personally still believe that.
I'm actually not going to read the headlines. So I very quickly came around and supported the president. In fact, CNN hired me. I was on many 8-on-1 panels where I proudly supported this president, who I believe is one of the best presidents, if not the best president this country will ever have. But I would encourage the individual who did that analysis of my past, rather than focusing on me, he really should be focused on some of the very guests CNN chose to have on their network. He should be focused on, over here, Jim Clapper, who said, 10 days before he privately told investigators there was no evidence of collusion, that Watergate pales in comparison to the Russia probe. I'd encourage them to look at Samantha Powers, who's privately saying, I'm not in possession of any evidence of collusion. Ambassador Rice, I don't recall intelligence or evidence of any collusion. Former Attorney General Loretta Lynch, I do not recall that being briefed to me. And for 3 years, 2 years, probably more than that, CNN ran with the collusion narrative. And if the American people are watching right now, you're probably very confused as to some of the quotes I read, because those individuals were saying much different things publicly than they were saying privately. And I'm very grateful that those transcripts were released yesterday. And perhaps the K-File should do an analysis of that. Yes, Emily?
Are you walking back those comments today at all? Or do you stand by those comments that you made?
I support this president. There is no questioning that. I'm so honored to work for him. And Ebony, next question.
Thank you. On the Michael Flynn case, Kayleigh, documents released yesterday suggest members of the intelligence community tried to keep the case against Michael Flynn ongoing. I'm wondering if you think there should be an investigation and whether the administration is considering bringing charges against people like James Clapper and Peter Strzok.
I'd refer you to the DOJ on that, but I would say there were some very, very questionable actions that happened in this case, and I took you through a number of them. And I do think the American people deserve answers, but I leave it to the Justice Department as to how to get those answers. Yes.
Kayleigh, has the president spoken to Michael Flynn since this news yesterday, and do you expect that he will visit the White House? Is that something that's being planned?
I'm not aware of any conversations that have taken place, and not aware of any future plans that would regard Michael Flynn.
Could I ask one more? Larry Kudlow said today that negotiations on the next stimulus are at a lull right now. Given where the numbers are in unemployment, from your perspective, from the White House perspective, why is it at a lull right now?
Well, look, I think Nancy Pelosi should explore coming back and having the House come back and having those discussions. We know the Senate is here. I think it's important for us to move and look at a phase 4. The president thinks so too. So those negotiations will happen, but a big part of that is, we need the House. We need Nancy Pelosi to come back from California and get to Washington, D.C. and to work for the American people. Yep.
Thank you, and congratulations on your new role.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Following up on Jim's questions about getting the economy started again, does the president see the CDC guidelines as an obstacle to getting the country back up and running again. And if it does not see the CDC guidelines as an obstacle, why not release those guidelines to the public and also follow them as we move forward?
So I assume you're talking about the guidelines that were widely reported about yesterday about daycares. Yes. So I would ask you, what's the definition of CDC guidelines? Is it something that the CDC director has actually seen? I would endeavor to say yes. Is it something that a rogue CDC employee leaks to you guys? No, those aren't CDC guidelines. Those are guidelines in draft form that a rogue employee has given you for whatever personal reason they've decided to do that. Those guidelines are in the editing process. We want the American people to get as much information as they can possibly have at this time. That's why we have the phased reopening guidelines, the data-driven guidelines. Those CDC guidelines are going through an editing process, and when we have those, you guys will be the first to know. Are we on time, Melissa?
We are, except for
Okay, what's our exact?
2 to 1. 2 minutes to 1.
Oh, 2 minutes to 1. I'm sorry to cut this short, but as you know, you guys were supposed to be 3 minutes ago with the President of the United States. So I will leave you guys with that. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. And thanks so much, everyone.
怎么又晚了？
这诊所太远了，这里多开几间就好了。
政府里需要有我们的人，需求才会被听到。
哎，你这……哎，你们两个都对，可光说有什么用啊？填好2020年的人口普查，就可以协助公共资金的分配，比如地方医疗、更多的政府席位。想要给自己发声啊，赶紧上网填，打电话也行。
请上2020census.gov 完成普查。